What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus. We got a great show for you today with Tripp Tracy, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes, and Steve Goldstein, who has been on this show before, a recurring guest who covers the Florida Panthers. So we'll hear from both sides of that game last night and of the series. I mean, honestly, Colby, is there really much to talk about with how the first two games have played out? I have never seen the Carolina Hurricanes unravel like they are before our eyes. But first of all, good morning to you. It was nice actually chatting with you last night after hours. We'll leave that for maybe later in the show. But what's up? I think we're both going to be a little bit smiley this morning. Me especially. Everyone thought I was mad yesterday or 2 days ago.
Well, look, first off, it's good that you have some energy today because yesterday you had none.
I sucked. I sucked. Holding myself accountable yesterday. I was bad yesterday. I sucked.
It was about as bad a performance as you've had in a really long time. So hopefully clean that up for a Friday show. And look, I think I'm really excited to sort of get the tenor of the gentleman that we have coming on today, because obviously it's going to be polar different. What was interesting to me was, watching that game, and just in the first period alone, I mean, I think the way that Florida has realized, this man-for-man defensive system that Carolina has played, like they're just pulling them apart in the offensive zone. And I don't mean pulling them apart like, I mean like their defense and the forwards are dragging guys high up into the zone. And so all of a sudden the spacing in their coverage is so big. And then they're finding these little back ice plays and creating these small little pockets of ice. And there's no layer to catch up to that. I mean, normally in a defensive system, you have layers to basically back you up if a player gets beat, if somebody makes a highly skilled play. And so, is my camera like flickering a little bit?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I think you're fine.
I see like a little light flicker happening here, which is annoying me. It's created a lot of problems for the Carolina Hurricanes. And then when you look at that and you look at the fact that, again, Florida, Carolina, they had some chances to score. Right? They didn't have a lot, and they had no second and third opportunities to score. But the one or two grade A's that they get when that game is still within reach, they don't bury. And that's where, a Mikko Rantanen or a bona fide goal-scoring superstar is needed. A guy who can score, who might not play well for 57 minutes of a hockey game. But when you look at the score sheet at the end, Johnny, you're going to see one, right? You're going to see that goal. And it's just so plagued year in and year out with this Carolina team that they're going to have to look at something in the offseason. They are. They're going to have to.
Yeah, but don't we say this every year with the Canes?
I get it. And listen, they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They make a lot of extra money doing it, but something isn't working. And I just don't understand why they kind of try the same thing in and year out. And listen, Rod Brind'Amour is as good a coach as there is, but he's got to be looking at his D zone right now, and maybe he's being too stubborn. And I'm not suggesting they're going to change their defensive zone coverage in the middle of a playoff series, but they got to look at it for next year because you're sacrificing offense for defense, and you're not defending well enough to beat teams. And year in and year out, you get to the second and the third round, and it's the same exact outcome. So, those were some of the highlights, that from that game. But also, like, the Florida Panthers are just different. Like, take the X's and O's and just shove them right up everybody's ass. And so I'll let you bring in our guest because
on that note,
feeling good about his team right now, and let's get his point of view.
Yeah, so before we bring on Goldie, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Budweiser. Budweiser is encouraging buds to make time for playoffs, not excuses. Every goal, every check, every win is better enjoyed with your buds. So phone a bud, text a bud, ping a bud, and call out their excuses for bailing on the playoffs. After all, the playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year, so make them count. When it's springtime, it's go time. So let's bring Goldie into the show. First of all, Goldie, good morning.
You're tan. Always looking good. You're always looking good, Goldie.
But Goldie, my first question for you, I know you're very well versed in sports. Not sure how familiar you are with the NBA. I'm pretty sure you're an NBA guy. So is it time to start calling this Florida Panthers team the late 1980s Detroit Pistons, the bad boys? It's a lot of similarities between these two teams, it feels like.
Well, first of all, you had to hit it where it hurt. I go to the morning skate yesterday and talking to a few people, and they said, "What did you think when the Halliburton shot off the back rim went straight up in the air?" And I said, "I didn't think anything. I knew it was going in because it's the New York Knicks. So let's leave the NBA stuff alone."
I'm going tonight.
Are you really?
I'm a big Knicks fan. Yeah, I'm going tonight. So hopefully
Did
they
you
can
use
recover.
the Colby Cohen credit card to buy that ticket? Or
Probably.
I got invited. I got invited through a friend. I can't pay for that ticket.
Boys, that's like having a boat. The best thing about a boat, you got to know someone that owns a boat. That's the key. With those Nick tickets, you got to know someone that has the tickets. That's the key. By the way, Cole, before we get into it, Colby, I don't mean to hit you where it hurts, but I do have to give a shout out to WMU, the Broncos Nation, Western Michigan, awesome winning the national championship. My son was there as equipment manager for 4 years. Wow. So, it was a great final, but congrats to First and all the guys at WMU.
Goldie, I couldn't be happier for those guys. Obviously, the better team won that game. That was not some fluky game. That was not somebody got a bounce. We did our predictions before that game, and I thought it would be 5 or 6 to 1 for Western Michigan. I was not surprised at that outcome. We did a public pick'em tournament with our Morning Cup of Hockey listeners, 270 people, mind you. My bracket was the winning bracket. I had all the teams, and I picked Western to beat BU in the national championship game. So,
wow.
Congratulations to those guys, to Firsch and your son. I couldn't have enough good things to say about them. So no apology necessary, Goldie. I love BU hockey, but I appreciate the level of play from that team.
All right, let's get down to the Panthers. Sorry to get all that out of the way.
No, you're good.
All year long, kind of it was brought up, with the depth that they had, the emergence of guys like Lundell and Loster, who have been really good the last few years anyway. Is this team better than last year's team? And I'm like, it could be, but it's almost impossible to say because they won the Stanley Cup. You have to wait and see. Now, what we're seeing from them, what they're doing at Carolina, and I love everybody's now poking holes in Carolina. Freddie Anderson's not reliable. They don't have the big time scorers. I mean, these guys have been cooking for years. They're just not good enough to beat this Florida team. They're kind of like mirror image. And when you look in the mirror, the Panthers do have the better goalie, and they do have the higher end, more of them offensive players. So it's been incredible to watch. You guys know it's not supposed to happen in our sport. You're not supposed to go and do what they're doing 3 times in a row. And it's just amazing. They've won 9 out of 10 playoff series. They're halfway to 10 out of 11 and halfway to their 3rd straight Stanley Cup final. The surprise for me, the only surprise for me really, is the way these 2 games have gone. That I know Paul Maurice says you look at the numbers and it's not quite that, that as lopsided. There's a big electronic thing hanging over the ice in hockey for a reason. We keep the score. And maybe he was right about game 1 last night. I think the Panthers only allowed 1 or 2 high danger chances. They had that thing on lockdown.
He's being modest for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think, the 2 things I can really point to, Goldie, that are different this year than last year is Brad Marchand and Seth Jones. And I mean, that went from a really good defensive team, a defensive core, to an outstanding defensive core. I mean, and I think Ekblad is playing at an incredibly high level. Like last year, Goldie, talking to people that were just friends that live in the South Florida area, as you know, like my family lives down there, people were done with Aaron Ekblad. This guy makes too much money. He shouldn't be. I'll tell you what, Aaron Ekblad I think he makes $6 million, right? I mean, that is an absolute bargain of a contract with the production and the defending that you are getting. I mean, they are smothering teams, those top two pairs, actually three pairs, with their stick play and the way that they're closing things off. So I just love watching that back end play. And then Brad Marchand, I mean, how fun has it been for you to watch him up close and personal?
7.5, by the way, for Ekblad.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
in the final year of 7.5. Yeah. So few things there. Number one, it's fun watching Brad Marchand. Number two, the guy's an amazing guy. I mean, the energy off the ice. You watch him from afar as a hockey fan when he's not on your team all these years, which everybody's in the same boat unless you're a Bruins fan, and you hate that guy. Then that guy comes over, and you're like, not only is, awesome on the ice, but what a guy off the ice, never quiet on the bench. And remember, and we talked about this the last time I came on with you guys, it's a little bit of a different team. Guys like Lomberg and Cousins and Montour, kind of guys that bring that little juice to the table. They kind of left. I think Brad Marchand's been a factor in, bringing that in. You need a few guys like that, and he's been amazing with those two Finns. I mean, Lundell and Luostarinen now think offense. Luostarinen, I believe, since I've watched every game he's played, I believe it was his first reverse hit of his career last night. So he's got a little juice to his defensive game. Once again, he had 8 hits. So Etsu led the team in hits last night. So a little bit of that Marchand offensive flair, if you will, has rubbed off on those two Finns. It's been amazing. And I remember when I came on after the trade, and Colby, I still have that scouting report somewhere in my phone that I've used on the air. What a smooth skater he is. How effortless it looks. It's almost like he glides on the ice. You told me those things.
Yeah.
And it's true times 10. And he is made for this Paul Maurice system, much like Mikkola. I can't imagine being a forward and trying to get into the offensive zone against that defense pair. They're both big, rangy, the long stick. Paul Maurice likes the hard gap. They've legitimately got two, top pair defensive pairs now. So a little bit of that pressure. I think Gustav Forsling only had to go 18, 19 minutes last night, which was
what
great.
What a treat that is.
Yeah, obviously with the big lead, they're able to roll the D even more. I mean, everybody played between 17 and a half and maybe 22, 23 minutes. But
that's no small thing, Goldie. Like with how much hockey that this team has played, and you're going to get a push from Carolina. Like this is not, I mean, I have a very difficult time seeing Carolina not have a more consistent push sometime in the next game. But that 17, 18 minute number for Gustav Forsling, who plays at 4,000% effort on every single shift, like he's almost gaining years back on his life through this playoff series because his, managing his minutes. I don't like the term load management. So managing his minutes, I mean, that has been, I'm glad you mentioned that. No small thing for this Panthers team.
Yeah, Kulikov and Schmidt, as that 5-6, they won the cup last year. You had Kulikov with Ekman Larson. I thought that was a big key. Remember, both these guys, they played for Paul Maurice in Winnipeg, veteran guys. Schmidt came down trying to kind of resurrect his career on that 1-year deal. Kulikov absolutely loves being a Panther. So the whole thing just spaces out really well. And a guy that really hasn't gotten any credit over the last few years that probably should is Sylvain Lefebvre and the job he does with
I
the
played
Panthers
for
defense.
him, Goldie.
Did you really? Okay.
He was assistant coach in Colorado when I was there. He's a great, especially as when I was a young guy, he was awesome to work with.
He's done a great job with these pairs. And, it was interesting because they get Jones and you only saw a few periods of Forsling with Ekblad, Jones, and Mikkola. Then Ekblad got suspended. Then he comes back for the playoffs, and the hit on Hagel, they suspend him again. So it's kind of scary to realize that this defense core is really just starting to hit stride. It's not like it's been together for 2 or 3 or 4 months. It's only been a few weeks. And, what they're doing on the road, I know it's cliche, guys love being together and the chemistry, but these guys love spending time together. I think it would even benefit them more if they could just play the rest of the series here in Carolina. Take the one off day, recover, play the game. You're in the hotel, you're at the hockey rink. There's nothing else to think about. What they've done on the road from Game 5 in Toronto to last night, outscoring the opponents 22-4 in 4 road games. It's staggering, and it's really outrageous what they're doing now. But that all said, what Paul Maurice is going to say to the media in 15 minutes. None of it matters. We drop the puck game 3 tomorrow night. It's a whole new game.
And Goldie, I have a bit of like a long-winded thing here, but just reading a comment from the sports bureau Jeremiah in the chat saying, I'm disappointed the Canes aren't putting up much more of a fight. But that's what we said about Toronto. That's what we're saying about Carolina now.
Yeah.
And it's not that. It's that you can't do anything against this Florida Panthers team, right? Like, that's what the story should be. It's Florida doesn't allow their opponents to do anything. It's not that these guys aren't trying. They just have no answers. Like, that's what we're seeing. But I wanted to ask you too, just the difference between these 3 years. Like, the first year, Florida, is the love affair. Like, the Tkachuk trade is so exciting. They're the team that gets in like the last day of the season, and they're the underdog, and it's so fun to watch them get hot and go to the final. Then last year, it's them asserting their dominance, and you're seeing the Florida Panther brand of hockey come together and see how good they truly are. And now this year, they're the villain, right? Like, everyone's starting to catch on a bit and starting to hate them a little bit more because they've been so good the last 3 years. But this team loves being the villain, do they not? I mean, they embrace the underdog. They, like I said last year, asserted that dominance, and now I think they even thrive the most being hated.
Yeah, and and that bench, I mean, when they're on the road, they kind of know that. And now we're starting to hear some of the mic'd up stuff, being released. Paul Maurice actually talked about this. I'm not sure overly intentional yesterday, but, on that bench, especially on the road, everything everybody does, when you get Jonah Gadjevich blocks a shot, the whole bench is going crazy. So
how about when the no-stick block last night where he dives in front of the puck? I mean, you'd have thought they scored a goal, Goldie, on TV, the way that they panned right to the bench.
Yeah.
And Bush and those guys were even talking about it. I mean, they were on their feet on that bench.
Yeah, they love that. And I think that's part of the road success and them just really banding together. So, loaded question, because if you go back a couple of years, okay, and obviously down 3-1 to Boston, if Bobrovsky doesn't make the save on the breakaway at the buzzer of Game 5 on Marchand, ironically, series is over. Who knows what happens? They launch it from there, and the rest, as they say, is history. They've lost one playoff series since. Go back to the Cup final 2 years ago. Their fourth line in Vegas was Colin White, Eric Stahl, and Zach Dalpe. No offense to any of those guys. Dalpe scored a huge goal in the Boston Game 6 to get that game tied. They trailed Game 6, facing elimination a few times, and Eric Stahl came in and did a good job as well. But now you look at it, and you have like 2 fourth line. Remember, the fourth line playing now, Gadjevich, Greer, and Nosek did not start the playoffs. They had Rodriguez there with Boquist and Nico Sturm, and those guys are waiting for their chance. And you still have Mackie Samoskevich. So what the Panthers did is they saw what Vegas did, and they said, okay, we need 15, 16 forwards to get through this thing. You need 8, 9 defensemen to get through this thing. And Bill Zito has done an incredible job at building the depth, because all these guys come in when you're the big guys, in a salary cap, you have to pay them. You got to fill in with guys making, 7, 8, 900 grand. And they've done an amazing job of doing that. Nosek, Greer, and Gadjevich, these guys were just kind of out there. Anybody could have signed them. And I think Gadjevich really, served a lot by being around last year. Remember, he never played last year during the Stanley Cup run, but he was around. Now he's getting his opportunity. So that's really the way the 3 years have gone. They perfected, the way Paul Maurice wants them to play, but they've got a group, okay, of their core guys. And you're talking Verhaeghe, Barkov, Reinhart, Bennett, you know all the names, Tkachuk and Forsling, that buy into the system. They are selfless. They really don't care about the stats, to be honest with you. They don't care who's Matthew Tkachuk hadn't scored in 10 playoff games. He gets one last night. I don't think he'd care less. Nice to score, but not a big deal. They set the tone for everything. And Barkov sets the tone for everything inside that dressing room, because he treats, along with Tkachuk, they treat everybody the same, whether you're the security guy at the dressing room door in Carolina or you're Sam Reinhart in the stall next to you. They treat everybody the same. And I think that's part of the reason they're able to always have these guys ready to play, ready to go in, because they feel like they're part of it. Colby, you could speak to this better than obviously we can. It's no fun if the top guys are playing 25 minutes and you're just sitting there and you're not really part of it. That's not the way this Panther team operates.
It's a fun team to watch. They've been really good. Goldie, it's
They're a
I
fun
know
team
you
to
got
hate too, 'cause I'm starting to hate them.
I don't
Bring it
understand that whole thing. I don't. It'd be hard for me to find NHL teams that I actually hate.
Well, they beat the Rangers last year. That's
I
why.
don't operate in that regard. But Goldie, listen,
Well, they didn't just
I know,
beat the Rangers; they ruined the Rangers.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
call it what it is. You know,
and so did the next team we have coming on. They finally found their way above them as well, Johnny. So look, Goldie, I know you had some stuff moving around this morning and with media availability, so we appreciate it. Keep moving along with your team and keep that tan looking good. And maybe in a week or two we'll circle back and see if we can't get you on if you guys keep winning. All right.
I certainly hope so. And by the way, quickly for everybody watching in South Florida, we are doing our Script Sports pregame shows. So they're 30 minutes before face-off for every game. So back at 7:30 tomorrow night. You can tune in South Florida wherever you watch Panther games all season long. So thanks a lot, guys.
You're the best, Goldie.
Thanks,
all right.
Goldie.
Thanks, fellas.
All right. Yeah, we gotta listen. We're very lucky today. Two gentlemen that are making time for us. I know you're gonna read Trip Tracy in a second, but I got to tell you, this is a guy that I got to meet when I did the Chicago Blackhawks. It was somebody I always knew who he was, but then you get to meet him, and an all-world type of human being. We bonded right away over a couple of mutual friends. So I know you're going to read Trip into the show, but I'm excited to have him on. I know his team has not given him a lot of good things to say here, but it'll still be great to get him on here to get his point of view on how they dig their way out of this hole.
Yeah, and I hate to bring him in like this because I've only met Tripp once briefly just in the press box of MSG because I told him, Anna's like one of my best friends, and I know they're tight as well, and she always speaks so highly of him, and I think he might be her favorite person in the world. But have to bring him in with our OutWest Worst Team of the Week. So got to give a shout out to OutWest. And summer is here, folks, and we've got big news. OutWest just dropped 8 brand new polos built for wherever your day takes you. From the office to 18 holes to post-game beers. We're talking clean designs, athletic fits, and breathable performance fabric that holds up in the heat and in the boardroom. Whether you're rocking classic back or stepping into fresh seasonal colorways, these polos are made to be your go-to again and again. So check out all 8 styles now at outwest.us and make sure tomorrow's outfit is one worth repeating. So use code Cuppa, C-U-P-P-A, in all caps for 15% off of your first purchase. OutWest, every game needs an outlaw. So let's bring in a friend of the show now, Trip Tracy. Trip, good to have you here. Good morning. I'm sure it's a tough morning, and we appreciate you carving out time to be here after last night's game. But I have a true or false question for you to start things off. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
A series doesn't start until you lose on the road. True or false?
Well, I have always thank you for those kind words, guys. And pretty good looking out west silhouette there. Esther, of course, I've always felt that a series, you're never in trouble in a series until you lose at home. And we know what's happened here in the first 2 games and the unbelievably well-oiled machine that the Stanley Cup champions are. It's happened. And, with the privilege that I've had starting in Carolina as a broadcaster in 98, and specifically the Stanley Cup year in 2006. I mean, these are different teams, but Montreal in the first round came in and beat Carolina twice. And Martin Gerber had been the guy. He had been brilliant in the regular season. Cam Ward came in relief in game 2. They got it to overtime. Carolina did. I think Michael Ryder scored. I remember getting on that plane going on the road. Now, the Montreal Canadiens were playing great. They're not the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, but I remember how strongly I felt about going to a rookie in Cam Ward at the time. And so your question, if Carolina doesn't withstand the push from Montreal, tie a game in the third period where Brendan Moore, the captain at the time, just willed a puck in, and then Eric Stahl scored in overtime. That was the 16 wins that they had to win the organization's only Stanley Cup. That by far was the biggest game of those 16 wins. So when I think about getting on that plane with the guys in a few hours and needing to go down and win a game on the road, I think about that. And you're in a tough spot. If you think about winning 4 out of 5 with 3 games against Florida on the road and Sunrise and the caliber of that hockey club, it's like climbing Everest without oxygen. if you think about just having a good first period in Sunrise on Saturday night, it seems more achievable.
Yeah, and that's what Rod Brindamore talked about, Tripp, after the game. Like, we just need to win a period. And let me ask you, like, you have this vantage point. I know you played a little, you're a goaltender, so you saw everything, right? When you look at this team, like, and I started the show talking about this, in each game that we've seen in the first period, there have been opportunities to score. There hasn't been a lot of sustained pressure on Bob, which, again, Rod talked about that very openly, feeling like on his bench interview, actually, you're in the building, obviously, so you probably didn't see that, but he told Jackie, like, we need more second and third opportunities. We haven't had any scoring chances like that. But they've had a couple of chances. Like, Florida's aggressive. They do run out to the walls. Their D move forward a lot. So you do get that one or two chances a period. Like, why is it when they get to the playoffs, and if you think that this is unfair, please tell me, Colby, you're dead wrong, because you know this team, and I will defer to you, but why does it feel like the scoring dries up in the playoffs every year? Because they score enough to win during the regular season, and then they always hit that wall. And they do have some scoring chances.
It's obviously harder to get to the front of the net in the playoffs. And I mean, you look at the size of Florida's defense and how good their sticks have been from defensemen and forwards alike with their buy-in, and again, how well-oiled of a machine they are. So it's tough to get to the middle. And, I think that's particularly difficult for Carolina's forwards. And, I would say that they had their chances without question in game one in the first period. That was their best period of the 6 that have been played so far. I thought that whether it was the break, gentlemen, or it was the moment, I thought that there was a clear difference in game one in terms of Carolina clearly gripping the sticks with those good chances in their first particular. And then, just as a microcosm, Verhaeghe's goal, the first goal of the series, where you could feel the softness of his hands coming when Barkey got him that pass on the half wall. He held on to a puck at the appropriate time. He waited for Anderson to drop. So being able to find the composure in your hands, I just tried to stop the puck and, had a shot of espresso in the NHL. So I obviously didn't stop it very well. So I think about it from a goaltender's perspective, but I see Carolina. I think they have been, they've departed from their identity. That is the only thing that is going to give them a chance at success and live with the results in these first 2 games. I think it's been unbelievably difficult to get anything sustained, even when they've come up with pucks in the Florida zone, even if they go low to high successfully, to get to the front of the net. I think they've been somewhat close on some redirection tip chances. But for me, I have a couple of thoughts about Carolina's lineup going into game 3. Colby, the defenseman that you were, this single biggest adjustment that has to be made is to deal with Florida's pinches coming down from the walls from the offensive blue line. Whether pucks get support, whether it be utilizing the middle of the ice when you have no margin for error, whether it be high flips that Carolina has used very successfully to deal with pressure when they are dialed into their game. That's the single biggest thing for me, looking at both games in their entirety.
Oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, we might have lost him a little there. We'll see if it pops back on. You could just hear the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the one thing I know is with Tripp, like, he bleeds for his team. I know him and Rod Brindamore have an extremely close relationship. The support that those two guys give each other is always incredible to see.
I don't think the series is over, though.
Listen, it's never over at 2 games. Like, it's never over at 2 games. 3-1 and 2-0 are very different. And I know that's an obvious statement before everybody tells me, no shit, Sherlock. So I understood. I'm being sarcastic. But I don't think that the series is over. Do I foresee Carolina climbing back? No, I absolutely do not. But I do expect, when the image of their coach, and they do have some good players, like, they're going to have a push that lasts long enough to score a goal or two. And I just and it looks like we're getting Trip back in here, or we're trying to at least. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, Trip, if you can hear us, I know we're trying to get your camera back working here, but
idiot.
We were saying that like this series is far from over. I witnessed it firsthand last year, and I know our chat hates when I bring up the Rangers, but they went up 3-0, and Carolina scared the crap out of me as a Ranger fan. And they clawed their way back, and we're one period away from forcing a Game 7. And I know these two opponents are different. I don't know if he can hear us or not, but as I was saying though, Colby, like you and I have talked about it. Momentum does not carry over from game to game in the playoffs. It truly doesn't. And if Carolina can just kind of switch gears right now as the series transitions to a different arena, a totally different atmosphere, we've seen how loud, how much pressure there possibly could be playing at home in Carolina, knowing that this team had not won a game in the conference final. Like, they looked a little bit intimidated, maybe not by the opponent, but by the moment. And that could play into it a little bit too. No?
Yeah. No, listen, it's hard to watch what you just watched for the last two games and not say that. Let me throw this one at you too, right? Jesperi Kotkaniemi is a healthy scratch. And remember when that whole offer sheet thing happened and everybody celebrated it and said, "Oh my God, this is such a great move." That was he never really did pan out, Kotkaniemi, huh? And that was one thing that Don Waddell did that, when you look back on it, it's probably a little bit of a miss for this team.
Yeah, but Jankowski had come in and like I think people loved him right away because he scored those 2 goals. Like, when you're replacing a fourth line center, is it really like the world difference?
No, it's not. But my point here, forget
about Kotkaniemi not like becoming like a top 6 player or whatnot.
I mean, like, you remember it was a pretty big offer sheet. There were some. I'm pulling up his contract now. Let's see.
I think Colby, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get Trip back. So
yeah. No, I just texted him and I said thank you to him.
Please thank him for me as well.
Yeah, no, listen, Trip, we appreciate you coming on. I know he's got to get going over there. They're traveling soon. He got to get a big bike ride in earlier this morning. He's a fitness guy. He's a bike rider. So I know he was planning around that. But look, they gave him 8 years. They gave him 8 years. And hold on, we might be able to get him back in here for 1 second. I think we can get him back in here for 1 second. There he is. All right.
Sorry, you legends. You guys were talking about. Listen, number one, I'm a tech dinosaur. I could have been in the days with Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so you guys were talking about my dear friend Hannah Yates. This is not on her, but she called me.
Anna Dua.
Anna Dua. Well, it could have been Anna. It happened to be my friend Hannah Yates, and I don't know how to put the do not disturb on. So as soon as that call comes in, I'm bounced. So I'm sorry about that. I'm back. Where do you guys want to go with it? Now I'm just holding the old schooler I am. I'm holding the phone in my hands.
Tripper, we just want to hear what you have to say. You look good no matter what. So that's all that matters to us. Johnny, I know you were asking him a question when he got caught off.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, listen, I know the opponent might seem tough right now, but this series, like knowing this Carolina team, I actually have more belief in this Canes team than I have in any year before for whatever reason. I don't know what specifically it is, but just how dominant they were in the first 2 rounds. And I guess my question for you was, and Colby and I were just discussing it, it seemed like the Canes were just a little bit intimidated, but not necessarily by the opponent, maybe by the moment, because I'm sure it is in the back of their minds, like what this organization has gone through in the conference final and whatnot. Not winning a game, now going 0-14, but just from what you've gathered from the players, like switching from Carolina to Florida, momentum will not carry from game to game. Like, it's almost beneficial for them, I think, to have this somewhat of a fresh start going into Game 3. Do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, the question before the tech moron that I am that I got bounced, Johnny, and I referenced back to, thinking about getting on that plane down 2-0 in the first round, going to Montreal, and Peter Laviolette at the time went to Cam Ward. And I still believe that the win on the road in Montreal, going to Cam, Rod tied it, just will the puck in, Stahl scoring in overtime, was the single biggest important win in a game in franchise history, because Montreal was playing great. The Hurricanes could have been down 3-0, and then everything that happened resulting in hoisting the Stanley Cup never would have happened. So, yeah, for me, this has nothing to do with Freddie. This has everything to do with, I've watched Pyotr Kochetkov always play well against Russian goaltenders. In New York when he's played against Shesterkin, against Bobrovsky, just to change things up. You came into the playoffs. You said, you're going to probably lean on 2 goaltenders. So that's something that I've been pondering since I came home from the game about at least the thought of going to Kochetkov. Carolina, listen, it's about winning, not even a period. The first 10 minutes of the first period on Saturday night. If you think about trying to win 4 out of 5, in particular, when Florida would have 3 of the 5 games in their building, that's like climbing Everest without oxygen. If you just think about the first 10 minutes of the first period on Saturday night, that seems achievable. And then you go from there. So what about Bob? Baby steps. And if Hurricanes fans are just looking for hope, I have to mention that so far in the postseason, the Hurricanes not only haven't been the Jekyll and Hyde team where they have been a really good road team and a really good home team and a brutal road team. I would argue that in particular, their starts, they have been far better on the road than they've been at home so far in this postseason. So, when you're getting in that bunker, as a group of players, and Colby would be able to speak to this, having played the game in the league like he did, getting on the road as a group, it is less pressure. You're in a hole that nobody ever would have hoped to be in, but they have been a good road team. Again, I would strongly consider thinking about Kochetkov just because changing things up in the way he's played against Bob. But I wouldn't feel what I do, and I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know that I have liked Carolina on the road so far in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. It's always nice to get goalies talking about goalies because that is definitely the one position that is a black hole of information. Tripp, let me ask you this before we let you go, because I know you do have to get going. If they are going to win the first 10 minutes of Game 3, okay, what does that look like? Right? Nobody knows Carolina Hurricane hockey more than you do. So just tell us. So we're watching this Game 3 and we're like, okay, Tripp says this is what we need to look for this team to be successful. What is that?
Colby, I'm trying to figure out. So I hope I'm not repetitive here about when Mr. Tech here got bounced. So I hope I'm not repeating something I said. It's dealing with the Florida pinches. And, you look at how aggressively and effectively they're playing Carolina Hurricanes hockey when the Hurricanes are dialed in. They're just, and when you play it well, you can make the opponent look silly. And that's exactly what's happened so far. So the one area of the game that has to see an extreme adjustment is dealing with those Florida pinches coming down the wall, whether it's holding on to pucks for an extra split second and getting support. Whether it's sending a winger into the neutral zone to try to adjust back to those pinches, or whether when you have less margin for error, whether you're coming up the middle of the rink in your own end or going with high flips. Slavin does it as well as anybody in the league. That, for me, has been, at 5-on-5, the biggest flaw in what I've seen in 2 games have been the game-changing nature across the board from all 6 Florida defensemen. And in the first 10 minutes in their own building trying to set the tone, they're going to bring it more than ever. Can you, for the first time in this series, deal with those pinches coming down the wall?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we've talked about it a little bit here on the show. Tripp, we're going to let you go because we know today is a travel day. Listen, we're super grateful for your time this morning and working through the tech issues. Honestly, no big deal. I think people were thrilled. We do have a really, really dedicated group of Carolina Hurricanes people that are with us every day in our chat. They're really, really dialed with us all season. So I'm sure they appreciated hearing from you. Tripp, hopefully you guys can find a way to get this series extended and get yourselves back to Carolina. If not, we'll definitely check in with you here in the off season. And I'm
have
glad
a little bit of release, Colby. They'll be okay.
Yeah, listen, we'll see. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. They don't quit.
No.
Boys, thanks for having me, and I'll leave you with this. It's a team game, and everybody's got to be better. But if there's any path for success for the Hurricanes, Andrei Svechnikov, who was not in the Eastern Conference Final 2 years ago and was great in the first 2 rounds, not good. He was a part of really the first 3 Florida goals. If there is a path to building a series, starting with a win on Saturday night, Andrei Svechnikov is going to have to be Andrei Svechnikov. And it's an individual story. He's got the capability to do it, but that's the one guy, if this thing is going to flip and Carolina's going to generate some vibe in life, that's the one guy I'd be looking at.
Yeah, he's the one guy that we said in the first round too, that if the Canes are going to go far, he's got to be their best player, and he was early on. So I fully agree with that too, Tripp. But
safe travels to Florida. And hey, look, if we do see you here soon, you're going to have to get your tan caught up to Goldie's tan. All right. Yeah. Goldie's midsummer form tan right now. So you've got some catching up to do with Goldie.
you know what, Colbs? If I, at this stage of my life, a 51-year-old has been, if I'm going to ask the big dog in the sky when I ask him to remove my character defects, if I make vanity one of them, if I'm going to ask for that, I really can't care about trying to get bronzed up. So that ship has sailed for this guy.
All right, pal. Enjoy South Florida.
You, Tripp.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
You too.
All
Safe travels. Awesome stuff. Happy he was able to get back on here and figure that out.
It
was good to see him smile and happy again too. Yeah,
he's such a good guy. He's so passionate about his team. He does a great job on TV. I've talked to you guys about this. Like, I've been on the circuit as an NHL color guy. I did that for a couple of years, and not everybody you meet is super friendly and welcoming and warm. And, there's only one color analyst on every team, right? There's only 32 jobs in the NHL for this position. And so some of the guys can be real assholes, and Tripper is one of the great guys that you meet on the broadcasting circuit. And I will say this, from a technical standpoint here, Johnny, they need to get their wingers out. Carolina's got to get their wingers out. They got to just get to that lob wedge, flip some pucks out into the neutral zone, and put pressure.
Just like bubble hockey.
Make Jones, make Mikula, make all these defensemen handle bobbling pucks, right? Like, the ice in South Florida is not known to be the best ice in the National Hockey League. You're probably going to get some bounces, right? So put them back on their heels a little bit, right? And do it. Now, where I totally disagree with you, Johnny, I think you're selling a total bullshit false hope that you believe that Carolina is still, you have more belief in them in this series than you have before. Like,
no. I don't know. I had more belief in them this postseason than I had in years before. And granted, in years before, a lot of it was because they were running into the Rangers, and I believe in those Rangers teams. But this Carolina, the version of this team, their power play had been better going into this series than it was in previous playoffs. And that was a huge knock for them too, like not being able to score goals on the power play, not getting big saves. Freddie Anderson, best numbers in the playoffs going into this series. Like, the trends were better this year than they have been in years past. And I wasn't saying I have more belief in them this series. It was this playoffs.
And listen, you're never out of a series at 2-0, but you just lost 6-1 and 5-0. Like, I mean,
it's not good. It's not good.
It isn't good. Like, it's not right now.
I think I said after the second goal last night, series over.
Yeah, well, I mean, which might be a really good thing for Carolina that you said that.
It's all G's fault. They invited Grinnell out to do the siren last night.
Yeah, I did see that. And well, he's got his new team down there, the Gargoyles. So look, good to get these different perspectives, right? You got one side flying high, you've got one side that's looking for a shot in the arm and a lifeline here. So look, watching the Florida Panthers defenseman never skate backwards, for me, is just like a treat. I really do appreciate, like, Seth Jones tries to make a play cross ice, puck gets picked off, and instead of re-gapping and backing up, he just angles and goes and attacks right in the neutral zone, because you have forwards who are back pressuring. Look at the play Kachuk makes late in the game last night, or maybe it was in the second period with his back check. Forsling has like a diving back check last night. It's just, listen, they're just making way more plays defensively, and then they're a more opportunistic team. And you're right, Carolina can't get out of the zone. The defensemen are coming down the walls hard. There's going to be some adjustments made, but I don't see this series getting to 6 games, Johnny. I don't. I picked Florida in 7, but
Yeah.
I think this series is over in 5 games, and I think that's the most hockey we're going to see in this series.
So let's try to break this one down. This comment from MDD47. I don't know if I've seen that like commenter before, so good to see someone new in here. No, not that one, Vic. You got to scroll up a little bit, but it said people are trying to over-explain this whole thing. The Panthers are a way better team than the Hurricanes. It's not a complicated situation. Okay, so here's my initial thought there. The Panthers are a better team, clear cut for sure. But are the Panthers and Leafs more even than the Panthers and Hurricanes? Like, I don't think so. The Leafs were able to get them to 7 games. If you look at Carolina and Toronto, like, I don't think Toronto is a much better team than Carolina. I don't even know if they are a better team than Carolina.
Well,
It's just what you play against the opponent. What?
Look at the 2 scores. Are they really 11-1 better than Carolina? No, of course they're not 11-1 better than Carolina. Are they better? Sure.
Yes,
but
sure.
Like right now, they're taking advantage of D-zone coverage issues. Okay. They're taking advantage of they've been more opportunistic, and they're getting better goaltending. We're not blaming Freddie Anderson, but again, there's a couple of great A's early in that game. What does Bob do? He locks it down, right? It's 1-1 is a hell of a lot different than 3-0, right? It just is. So I don't think that it's as simple as just, we're over analyzing this. No, there is a reason Carolina just lost 6-1 and 5-0. Where are those breakdowns happening? Well, there's a man-for-man issue right now in the defensive zone where they have to play this man-for-man. And I got to tell you, it's not working because they are doing a good job of finding these little soft holes and isolating guys. And, they're making plays. And then, again, they can't get out of their zone. And the Florida Panthers are keeping so many pucks alive down the wall. So you look at the size of the defensive group. For Florida, they're doing a good job boxing out. Go ahead, Johnny. You look like
I saw another comment. Again, like I've made this comment in the past. I think it's Jim the Swede, who we love and adore. Jim said, like, the Canes miss a game breaker. How does everybody just see past that? That's why they swung on Rantanen. One play, if they had Mikko Rantanen right now, this series would look no different. One player, one game breaker doesn't change what we saw in the past 2 games. That's at least my opinion. I mean, there's no way you can disagree with that. Is a Mikko Rantanen the difference in this series? I don't think so.
I mean, listen, after a 6-1 and a 5-0 game, it's hard to say one player would be the difference in this series, but I like my chances that Mikko Rantanen's going to score goals. And right now, this team can't score goals. Like, sure, they are losing in every area.
It starts in their own zone.
Like Goldie said, the big metal boards that hang above the ice that say what the score is what dictates who's good and who isn't. Okay? Throw everything else out. The score is what matters, and they can't score. Excuse me. Sorry, I just burped.
I don't know what was that.
It was like a burp, and I tried to like kind of catch it because I didn't expect it. I didn't just want to burp into the microphone. But they're not scoring goals. They have 1 goal in 2 games. Okay? Like, you can't operate that way. So do I think it changes everything? No. But do I think having Mikko Rantanen can be a difference maker? Is
Jake Gensel
a guy who can score a goal early in a playoff game if he's feeling good? Look, by the way, Justin Starseed says you got to shoot the puck to score goals, Colby. He said that in our chat.
Yeah, 17 shots last night. Vic had the stat. I think that's the least amount of shots. It's like 06.
We did have our friend Brant who shared shot attempts with us. Shot attempts were a lot different. They had a lot of shot attempts. Florida is that is another huge thing in this series. You have one team that is selling their soul to block shots in the Florida Panthers. I mean, that Nosek block was unreal. Okay. Carolina has kind of left you with something to desire. I mean, you think about the goal the other night, that Morrow screening him on. Okay. There's been a couple of other shots from range a little bit. Obviously, the ones right on top of the paint is a little bit different. But look, again, we could pick this apart left and right, and that's what we're going to do. But I don't agree, MMDD, I think it was, that it's just as simple as just one team is better than the other. Okay, sure. If that's true, because it's looking true, but why is that the case? Okay. You get to the Final Four in the NHL, you're really good. You're obviously really good. So are we really saying that they're an 11-1 better? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what happens the next two games. If the next two games are 5-0 and 6-1, okay, maybe it's just, okay, you're just so much better. You're not even the same class. But it's pretty rare Carolina is fully outclassed like this. I mean, it is. So, all right, I know we've gone a lot longer on this game than we had expected, Johnny. Obviously, thanks to our two great guests. Let's do Ninja Crispy here, and then let's talk and preview quickly the Edmonton-Dallas series, and then I'm gonna get out of here and get on the road and get down to the shore.
Okay, so it's time now, I guess, to get into our crispy hot take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the full power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container with max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp. With the Ninja Crispy, you can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. So visit their website and the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And Vic actually wanted to use the Ninja hot take to say that the Leafs were the second best team in the East and they shouldn't blow it up. I'm not going with that. My hot take for today actually is that the Canes and Panthers series lasts longer than the Oilers and Stars series. I think the Canes will figure it out, and I think Dallas might dominate Edmonton and not have that series drag out. So that's my hot take for today.
Okay. Say it one more time. What was the last line?
Jay Thielen, that's not a hot take. That's just terrible. It's that the Canes will drag out the series. Like, this series will last longer than the Oilers and Stars series. Like, basically saying the Canes have more of a chance than Edmonton does.
Ooh, I disagree with that, but it is a hot take. So
yeah, that's the point.
But yeah, I don't agree with
that. Jay Thielen was talking about Vic's take, not mine.
Okay. Let's talk about this game tonight and what our expectations are. Because obviously, you know, the power play was the whole difference in the hockey game. Again, you can argue it whichever way you want, but 3 power play goals is a difference maker. The Oilers need to stay out of the box. Like, if you're going to take a penalty, it's got to be a hard earned penalty. And it just cannot be something far from your net, something ticky-tacky, something with your stick. Body positioning just becomes so important when you are playing against a team that is clicking at this level on the power play. And so you have to make sure that, you know, you're not letting guys get inside on you where you're going to have to turn around and reach and take a penalty. I just don't foresee that, you know, being good for the Edmonton Oilers. Do you expect a rebound win for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, or do you think the Dallas Stars take a commanding 2-0 lead, which, you know, how commanding is that against
the... It's not commanding. I was just going to say it's not commanding. But I do think Dallas will play better. I mean, I don't think they can play much worse than they did in game 1, and they are a better team than what they showed. Also, you know, not saying anything about Stuart Skinner, but I just think Jake Ottinger will have a better game. Not that he played bad in game 1, but I just expect Ottinger to shut things down a little bit more than maybe he did in game 1. I actually think it's going to be a low-scoring game, too. Like, we saw a 6-3 final. I don't think it'll be the case tonight in game 2. But, yeah, I think Dallas wins again tonight.
Yeah.
You?
I think that Edmonton will rebound and find their way back into this game. I think that they'll play more disciplined hockey, and I think that will obviously keep that Dallas power play sort of a little more in check. Listen, I have belief. Actually, I have belief in both of these teams. I think, and what I would say here, Johnny, is coming back from 0-2 as you get later and later in the playoffs it's very different, right? Like coming back from 0-2 in the first round is a lot different than coming back 0-2, in the conference finals, right? Because you've come farther, there's more pressure, there's more on the line. The series are more physical. You're a little more tired at this stage of the playoffs, having gone through 2 full rounds at this point. So the stakes are a little bit higher. I think that the Edmonton Oilers win tonight and this series stays at 1. And maybe
I hope they do. For the record, I hope they do.
I want to say, it's maybe I wouldn't call it wishful thinking. It's hopeful thinking because I want to see a 7-game series, and I don't think we're getting it from the other side. And so I want to make sure we get it from this side. And so I hope that this series can stretch out. I'm not betting against Edmonton. Dallas, obviously, well-coached, well-oiled machine, and it's just the power play is so scary, right? Edmonton's got to take less than 3 penalties. Like you got it. That number is 2, maybe 3. And so, I think that it's mightily important that they focus on it. Evander Kane's going to have to find a way to sort of his will on the game by staying in the game and not ending up in the box. And I think ultimately, as we heard from Josh earlier this week, as we also heard from Tyler, like this series is probably a special team series.
Mm-hmm. Which was the difference last year. I'm just laughing at Jeremiah saying I'm rooting for a sweep on both sides so we can get to the summer. He's so sad without the Capitals in it. But
by the way, Brant, we just got a text from Brant.
I saw that, yeah.
Who's letting us know 68% of Carolina's shot attempts were misses or blocks. 68%. And I know we're jumping back to that series, but so it's not as if they didn't have shot attempts. Okay. And I don't remember who somebody said to me earlier, you can't score without shots. They're trying to shoot the puck, whether it's stick deflections, blocks.
But also, but not many. Like, I wonder how many of those percentages were high danger ones too. Right. Because there weren't many of those.
Yeah. I mean, not a ton, but
shots
still,
from the boards,
they had their opportunities.
Yeah. But if you're just throwing a puck on net from the boards, like it's different than a shot in the slot that's blocked,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We got Bet365, and I want to let you make the announcement.
I'm not making an announcement.
I want you to do it.
I'm not making an announcement. All right. Do Bet365, and then I'll tell everybody about your personal life, Johnny. You're like a 5. Oh my goodness.
Well, last night was funny. I want to talk about last night. It was hilarious.
No, we're not going to talk about last night. Do Bet365, and then I'll talk about it how I want, and then we'll say goodbye to everyone until Tuesday.
All right, so if you want to get into the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365, they got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And remember, you must be 19 or older. And tonight, what happened? What am I missing? We're going with the under in Dallas and Edmonton, 6.5. It's a typical high number. The chat is obviously going off, but like we were talking about before, I saw a lot of 3-2 Dallas in the chat. So we're gonna go with the under tonight, and I'm just gonna leave it at that because Colby, just go, just say it.
Okay, Johnny's dying to talk about this. Johnny does officially have a girlfriend, and I even made him FaceTime me.
It's not Troy.
Just so I could prove that it wasn't his roommate yet again. So if you're wondering why Johnny's all giggly and smiley today, part of it is because I accepted a FaceTime call from him, which I never do.
You told me to FaceTime you, first of all. I tried to FaceTime you and Vic didn't answer.
I don't think either of us saw that, to be honest.
No, Vic said he saw, but he was on the couch with Amanda, so he didn't want to pick up.
So she is real. You're right. Johnny's mom has hope. Karen, there is hope for you. She's a lawyer. I mean,
All right, don't say too much.
Very impressive. I mean, my first question to her was, why? Like, what are you doing with him?
The funniest part, Colby, like, so we're not saying her name on here, by the way. Keep some things private, but
you posted a picture of her on your Instagram story.
I didn't tag her in it, though.
There's something private about it.
I didn't tag her, but she kept saying to Colby on FaceTime that she agrees with him a lot and that they have a lot in common. So I made the joke that I'm basically dating Colby, which is just, I can't get enough of this guy. So
I did laugh at that. You did make me laugh when you said that. But New York Marine, she's the first one. New York Marine. Don't worry. That was my first question. But so
what did New York Marine say? I didn't see it.
So look, we're happy for our guy Jonny. I'll give him a lot of credit. Over the last couple of years, he's always been willing to talk about his personal life on here. And I do think some people are probably leaving the stream. Some people are like, get me away from this conversation. I don't want to know. Although I'm looking at the numbers right now, they're not actually going down. They're actually going up. So maybe you're like, do you ever see that movie Ed TV? You remember that movie? You might be too young for that.
Heard of it.
I know the chat would know Ed TV. And remember that with Matthew McConaughey and oh my God, he's with the other guy who's like super famous as well. I'm blanking on his name, but I think everybody's really happy for you, Jonny. Don't mess it up would be my best advice for you publicly.
Publicly, what's the advice privately?
Publicly, don't mess it up. You found yourself a nice girl who's a lawyer who actually likes you. And so I would tell you to do everything you can.
Her first lesson is teaching me how to talk back.
Yes. And she said she's going to teach Jonny how to fight back. So we'll look forward to the day he learns to fight back. So with that, listen, it's been a great week. Fridays, guys, have been, Woody Harrelson with Matthew McConaughey. Thank you, Jeremiah. Always good to punch it with those types of things for us. That was a great movie, Jonny. You should watch it, but that's what we need. We need a little Ed TV for you. We need a little day in the life with Jonny and the girlfriend. So anyways, we great show today as far as our audience goes. You guys have been, oh wow, Carter Hutton in the chat today. Love to see it. So
her
you guys
favorite
are the
player
best.
is Matty Nyes, by the way, Carter.
Our Friday shows have done really good numbers, so we're grateful to all you guys. Make sure you guys like today's episode. I'd like to see a few hundred comments on today's YouTube stream. So once the show's over, let us know, how do the Carolina Hurricanes get back in this series? What does Edmonton have to do to win some games? Is it getting the wingers out? Is it more about special teams? Whatever it may be, we want to hear from you. Remember, we will not have a show Monday. It is Memorial Day. We hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day. Don't forget what Memorial Day is. That is very, very important. Remember why you're sitting there eating a hot dog, drinking a beer. Like, remember that, right? If you're an American, remember what it all means and what it all means to be an American citizen, and honor those that are due their honor. So remember, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're at 28,000, almost 28,500 subscribers. Once we cross into the 500s, then we're less than 1,500 survivors. 1,500 subscribers. So let's keep hitting that subscribe button. If you're audio only, put audio down, automatic downloads on Spotify and podcasts. Get them loaded up. Maybe you're sitting on the beach today. Maybe whatever, you don't get to it or whatever, but get those downloads going because we can't do this without you guys. Remember, on Tuesday, we'll have a lot of games to talk about, right? There's hockey every day here to talk about. And then we will have, what'd you say? And then we will have Mr. and Mrs. Gaudreau joining us on Tuesday to talk about the 5K, the virtual walk, all that type of stuff. So if you're in Margate or Longport this weekend, come say hi. I'll probably be walking around with I just bought a new double stroller. I'm pretty excited about. That's how you know your life is over, Jonny. When you're excited.
I've been buying the Survivor comments. Everyone's like, I'm a daily face-off survivor.
You're excited about a new stroller that you got that's supposed to be good in the sand. So Olivia's letting us know that the Memorial Cup does start today. We will talk about the Memorial Cup next week for you, Olivia. I promise you, at some point, we will have somebody, Colton, somebody will be on here to talk about the Memorial Cup. Go, Johnny.
I owe Olivia an apology. I chirped Canada yesterday saying Canada only wins the exhibition tournaments. And she said something about, I think the U.S., when was the last time the U.S. won this tournament or something, or won a tournament? And I was like, I don't know, too busy watching our NHL teams win the cup every spring. And then she had to come back, and I didn't expect it. But sorry, Olivia. Love you.
Anyways, see, the parents are having my back here. Josh is saying, that's no joke, Colby. Sand strollers changed my life. Yeah. You know what? Need that double stroller, need that jogger, that three-wheeler, so you get a little bit of, maybe I gotta have to get a third seat, and Johnny can sit in the third seat, so your girlfriend can push you in your stroller since you're such a child. So we hope everybody has a great weekend. Be safe, have fun, be with your friends, be with your family, enjoy the hockey. Try to get a little bit of sun, although there's no sun out here in the Northeast right now. The weather is pretty iffy and pretty disappointing. So we're thinking Edmonton. I think Edmonton wins tonight. Johnny thinks Dallas wins tonight. We'll reconnect with that on Tuesday. But again, enjoy Monday. We will not be here, but Tuesday, big show, lots of hockey, and Mr. and Mrs. Gaudreau. It's going to probably be very emotional, but hopefully also very uplifting to hear what it is that they're coming on to talk about. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see everybody Tuesday. Johnny, good luck with your girlfriend this weekend. Don't blow it. Bye, everybody.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.